שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's so nice to be together here in the sanctuary at Westchester Reform Temple after many weeks of joining together mostly online for our Shabbat evening service. I'm Rabbi Daniel Reeser. This is our student cantor Isaac Sonnet Asor, and we're joined in the leadership of tonight's service by our pianist and conductor Pete Mallenverney, also by Jerome Morris on percussion, and by Idan Santhaus on woodwinds. And we're also joined on the bima this evening by the president of the Board of Trustees of Westchester Reform Temple, by Warren Haber, and also by a member of our Board of Trustees, by Lauren Bender. Lauren and Warren, if you needed a reminder. It's really nice that we can gather together again in person, and even with the service leaders who tested just before the service being unmasked. There was an article just a couple of weeks ago in the New York Times by a religion writer named Tish Warren Harrison, where she made some provocative statements about how we're going to get out of the pandemic, and whether you agree with her or not, one thing she said that I believe is very much true, something that we all need right now, is community. We need one another. We need to be able to be in the same space together. People in mourning need to see people who are celebrating. People who are here to celebrate Shabbat need to see people who are here for life cycle events. We need to be together. We're currently in a period in Jewish time where we're reading in the Torah about how the Jewish people built a sanctuary so that God could dwell among them. And that's exactly what we need right now. We need to dwell among one another here in our sanctuary, here in our sacred space, in order to feel in community and in order to find our way through what has been a very challenging 2 years. So why don't we continue by welcoming Shabbat with the lighting of Shabbat candles. I'd invite Lauren to please come forward and help us kindle these lights.
Oh, hear my prayer, I sing to you. Be gracious to the ones I love, and bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh, hear my prayer to you. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Lauren. Our leadership over these past 2 years have worked tirelessly to help us navigate these difficult waters. Lauren, we're so glad to have you here with us tonight, not only to lead, but to help us celebrate Shabbat. Thank you for being with us. We'll continue now with Kabbalat Shabbat.
This evening, just in a little extra celebration of the specialness of being together, we will be adding just a couple of words of poetry to our service this evening. The prayer book captures so much of our joys and our sorrows and our yearnings, and yet throughout Jewish history, there have been poets that have decided that we need to supplement these texts with the meditations of our hearts through each age. And so in our Kabbalat Shabbat service, we'll be beginning with these words, Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash, sing unto God a new song. And we'll then hear some words by the great Hebrew poet Chaim Nachman Bialik of the late 19th century, with the poem Shabbat HaMalka. And all of these words are actually found in your prayer book. I'll call out these page numbers, but we'll be beginning on page 131 with Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash.
Shiru Ladonai Kol Haaretz, Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai Kol Haaretz, Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash. Sing unto God, all the earth, a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru Ladonai Kol Haaretz, Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash.
Page 128. The sun over the treetops no longer is seen. Come, let us go forth and greet Shabbat, the Queen. Behold her descending, the holy blessed one, and with her the angels of peace and of rest. Come in, O Queen. Come in, O bride. Peace be unto you, angels of peace.
Hachama merosh ha'yiladnot nistalka, bo'u v'neitzei likrat Shabbat hamalka, hinei yoredet hakdosha berucha, ve'ima melachim tzva shalom umenucha. Hachama merosh ha'yiladnot nistalka, bo'u v'neitzei likrat Shabbat hamalka, hinei hi yoredet הקדושה ברוחה, ועם המלאכים צבא שלום ומנוחה. בואי, בואי, המלכה, בואי, בואי, הכלה. שלום עליכם מלאכי השלום. בואי, בואי, המלכה, בואי, בואי, הכלה. שלום עליכם מלאכי השלום.
Page 138.
Shabbat nikabelah, lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei שמור וזכור בדיבורך, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם כל תפארת ונתילה לך אדוני, לקראת כלה בעיני שבת נקבלה. לך אדוני, לקראת כלה בעיני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה. מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך אדוני, לקראת כלה בעיני שבת נקבלה. לך אדוני, לקראת כלה בעיני שבת נקבלה. Verse 5. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי. אורי אורי שדברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך אדוני, לקראת כלה בעיני שבת נקבלה. לך אדוני, לקראת כלה בעיני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה. תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי כלה, בואי כלה. לך אדוני, לקראת כלה בעיני שבת נקבלה. לך אדוני, לקראת כלה בעיני שבת נקבלה.
Page 146.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Vaed.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
A poem by the great Mary Oliver of blessed memory, Wild Geese. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things.
El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'ma'ariv ha'aravim. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod, Shem Kavod, Malchuto Leolam, Leolam Vaed. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Page 158.
Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Adonai? Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh, norat tehilot osef eleh, norat tehilot osef eleh. Malchutecha ra'u v'hanecha bokei hayam לפני משה ומרים, ואליהו והאמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. אמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
Amen. 160.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך. Shelter us beneath your wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right, O Adonai. Amen. 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 Amen.
At the top of page 162, we find a poem of our gratitude for this special day of Shabbat, the culmination in the Jewish myth of the act of creation. And if you read our Jewish creation story all the way back at the beginning of Genesis, you'll see that it's a story of growing and growing complexity, where God separates things until they become finer and finer, separating first big things like light from dark, and then sea from sky and ocean from dry land, but then separating still even finer things after that, birds from fish, land animals from the flying and the swimming things, and eventually the human from all of those animals as well. And then finally, in the greatest act of separation, God separates all of that separating from another day of the week, Shabbat, where we don't have to worry so much about the boundaries between one thing and another, where we don't have to worry so much the difference between light and dark, between fish and fowl, and instead focus on the entirety of creation, where instead of trying to dissect and diagnose and make things more complicated, we zoom out and enjoy the beautiful picture. Please join with us, the top of 162.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם, לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
אבותינו ואימותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק, ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
It's been said that prayer is a way to say the things that go beyond what we can say with normal speech, helping us to reach beyond the limitations of words. The other way, of course, to reach beyond the limitations of words is to find prayer that is wordless, prayer that is silent. Please take these next few moments for private prayer while either standing or sitting.
Words of the great Yehuda Halevi, found in your Siddur on page 171. Where, my God, will I find you? Your place is high and obscured. And where won't I find you? Your glory fills the world. I sought your nearness. With all my heart, I called to you. And in my going out to meet you, I found you coming toward me. Ya'ana emtzacha mekomcha nalem v'ne'lam ve'ana lo emtzacha כבודך מלא עולם. דרשתי קרבתך בכל ליבי קראתיך ובצאתי לקראתך נקראתי מצאתי la la
ya la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la, ya la la, ya la la la, ya la la. דרשתי קרבתך בכל ליבי קראתיך ובצאתי לקראתך נקראתי מצאתיך יא ya la la la, ya la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la, ya la la, ya la la la, ya la la.
Can you hear me okay out there? I'm not hearing myself so well. You hear me all right? Okay, great. When I was in rabbinical school, I served as a student intern at Temple Sharei Tefillah on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. And during my time with the congregation, the senior rabbi of the synagogue was Rabbi Jonathan Stein, who by that point in his rabbinate had enjoyed a long and distinguished career. All four walls of his large office were lined with built-in bookcases, and every bookcase was packed from floor to ceiling with books, some of them in rows that must have been 2 books deep. There must have been thousands of books in that office. When congregants, or in my case, a young rabbinical student, would come into Rabbi Stein's office and look around in wonder at the impressive library, the distinguished rabbi, with his usual wit and humor, would gesture towards his many books and say, "I've read every single title." You got the joke. A few weeks ago, the Jewish Book Council announced the 2021 winners for the National Jewish Book Awards, their annual prize for the most notable Jewish books from the past year. And in the weeks since that list of award winners was published, like Rabbi Stein, I can find myself confidently saying that I've read every single title. Don't get me wrong, I have not read every one of the 20 books that they honored, only the titles. And I must say, the titles truly fascinate me. Among the award winners are such titles as Beyond the Synagogue, Jewish Nostalgia as Religious Practice, a book which explores the deep religious meaning that American Jews find while eating at a deli. Another title is called Becoming a Soulful Parent, a book that applies the tools of Jewish spirituality to the challenges of raising children. Another book is entitled, get this one, An Account of a Minor and Ultimately Even Negligible Episode in the History of a Very Famous Family, which is a novel that imagines a fictionalized visit between Ben-Zion Netanyahu, father of the former prime minister, to a college campus in the United States. And of course, there was an award for the most talked about Jewish book of the year, the writer Dara Horn's much acclaimed book on anti-Semitism, which, in addition to winning this National Jewish Book Award, likely would also win an award for the most provocative title of the year. The book is called People Love Dead Jews. Browsing through the list of winners on the website of the Jewish Book Council is like browsing through Rabbi Stein's library. While it may be true that at this point I've read every single title and no more than that, nevertheless, reading the titles makes me want to read every book. Throughout our long history, the Jewish people has always been lovers of books. One of our most famous and most proud nicknames is that we are the people of the book. We Jews love to read. We love to write. We love to explore new ideas and utilize the power of language to transform our minds, our souls, and our world. It's been said that whenever you enter any sacred space, like a church or a mosque or a synagogue, you'll find at the front and center of the room the image or the symbol that that particular faith tradition holds most dear. For the Jewish people, the symbol that we hold most dear is not a shrine or an altar, not a statue of a person, not some dogmatic statement of faith, but rather is a book, our Torah scroll. We love this book so much that we treat it with the utmost reverence. We stand up whenever we are in its presence, as if it were an honored guest. We try never to let it touch the floor, as if it were too exalted for so low a stature. We cradle it in our arms, parade it around the room, and lovingly kiss a finger and reach out and touch it, as if it were a baby entrusted to our care, a precious child, our hope for the future. Our nickname, the people of the book, originally comes from the Islamic world. In the early Muslim caliphates, although Jews did not practice the majority religion, still our ancestors were granted a special political status. On account of our shared reverence for the stories of the Bible, our Muslim neighbors treated our ancestors kindly and fairly, granting them in Arabic what's called dhimmi status. That is, equal protection under Sharia law that's extended to non-Muslims on account of our being people of the book. And indeed, in places where Jews lived among a majority Muslim society, our ancestors thrived. In Baghdad, in Muslim Spain, in Iran, and in Egypt, we Jews enjoyed prolific golden eras, many centuries of literary productivity, generating some of the greatest Jewish writers and books of all time. The philosopher Maimonides, the poet Yehuda Halevi, whose song we just sang a moment ago, the Jewish legal scholar Joseph Caro, the mystical book of the Zohar, and countless others all come from Jews in modern lands where they were treated as people of the book. Perhaps our most famous book, the Babylonian Talmud, which, unlike the Hebrew Bible, is not a book that we share with other faith traditions, but rather is exclusively a part of the Jewish religious canon. The Talmud was written in Iraq. For Jews in Muslim lands, the term the people of the book signified more than just their protected political status. It was our shining legacy. However, as you browse through the titles of the National Jewish Book Award winners, it will quickly become clear that this term, the people of the book, is at least partly inaccurate. Among the 20 titles that received awards, only one of them is explicitly about the book, only one about the Torah. The other 19 award winners are on all kinds of secular Jewish topics, representing many different genres of literature, including biographies, academia, cookbooks, personal memoirs, history books, even illustrated children's books. The vast majority are not explicitly religious. I imagine that the same might be true about each of our own Jewish book collections at home. While we likely have a copy of the Hebrew Bible, the prayer book, and the Passover Haggadah, it is also likely that alongside those religious books, we might have a novel by Philip Roth or Geraldine Brooks, books about Israel or the Holocaust, a book of Jewish jokes or of famous Yiddish phrases, or perhaps books that are indeed inspirational but not explicitly religious in their content, like the famous Chicken Soup for the Jewish Soul. Judging either by the National Jewish Book Award winners or even by our own personal libraries, we might reasonably say that we Jews are not so much the people of the book, but perhaps more accurately are the people of the books. Even the book itself The Hebrew Bible is in fact not one single book, but rather is a collection of books written at a variety of different times, in a variety of different places, by a variety of different authors, with a variety of different worldviews and motivations, spanning a variety of different genres. Some books of the Bible may have been written as early as 1000 BCE, others not until 200 BCE. Some were written in the land of Israel, others in faraway Persia. Some books are filled with religious piety, others are books of poetry, like the book of Psalms, or a novella, like the book of Ruth, or a collection of aphorisms similar to Bartlett's quotations, like the book of Proverbs. There's even a comedic farce in the book of Esther. What we now refer to as the book is, in fact, a collection of books spanning a variety of genres. And if we look back into Jewish history, we'll see that there has not always been perfect consensus as to which books should be included in the collection and which books should be left out. There are many ancient Jewish books that did not make the Bible's final cut. For instance, the book of Jubilees, or the book of Maccabees, or the book of Ben Sira. Somewhere along the way, by some process that isn't precisely understood by historians, our ancestors made a decision about which books to include in the biblical canon and which books to disregard. Sort of like an ancient version of today's Jewish Book Council, deciding which books should be recognized with National Jewish Book Awards and which ones should not. There's a famous debate that's recorded in the Talmud, in which the ancient rabbis are arguing, as they always are, over whether certain books of the Bible possess enough gravitas to be considered sacred. The debate centers around two books in particular, the Song of Songs and the book of Ecclesiastes. The Song of Songs, for its part, is a collection of ancient Hebrew love letters. It describes in vivid, sensual detail the courtship between two young lovers. In some passages, it could reasonably be described as erotica. It's hardly a wonder that the ancient rabbis were divided over whether such a book ought to be called sacred. The other book that the rabbis debate in the Talmud is the book of Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes, for its part, is a philosophical treatise that expresses a deeply skeptical view of human existence. It argues that life is meaningless, that piety is useless, and that justice is merely an illusion. And yet, despite the seemingly secular and potentially subversive content of both the Song of Songs and also the book of Ecclesiastes, nevertheless, the ancient rabbis ultimately decided that both of these books were fit to be called sacred. And today we treat them both with the same reference that we would afford any other part of the Hebrew Bible. Let us consider for a moment what this debate among the ancient rabbis is all about and why it matters for us today. On some level, the rabbis were asking, what are the books that we care about? What content should a Jewish person read and study in order to be considered a well-educated Jew? Do the books need to be explicitly religious, or is there a meaningful place for all other kinds of Jewish writing? Put differently, should we define ourselves narrowly as the people of the book, or more broadly, as the people of the books? If we are to take the broader definition, that there is indeed a meaningful place not only for religious books, but also for other kinds of Jewish writing, then a whole new set of questions emerges. For example, to what extent should a person who is well-read in secular Jewish texts also be familiar with and conversant in the classical religious canon? Should there be some sort of required core curriculum of, say, Hebrew Bible, prayer book, and Talmud that undergirds our more wide-ranging elective Jewish reading, like fiction, history, and memoir? Also, we might ask, are there limits to the term the people of the book? Is it sufficient for a Jew to be well-read in general, say, as an avid reader of The New Yorker or the best of contemporary nonfiction, but have never picked up the book of Genesis or the Passover Haggadah? In short, what we're asking is, what exactly do we mean when we say that we are the people of the book? And even more importantly, how should that nickname inform the Jewish lives that we live? I ask these questions this evening, recognizing that I'm offering no definitive answers, and I would truly welcome the conversation that these questions might lead to. But for now, I'll leave us with the following thought that's attributed to the medieval Jewish sage known as Hai Gaon. Hai Gaon lived in what is present-day Iraq, where, as a Jew in a majority Muslim culture, he was granted equal protection under the law as one of the people of the book. Fittingly, Hai Gaon wrote and published hundreds and hundreds of works, but none of them were books. All that Hai Gaon ever wrote in his life were letters, and still we study them to this day. Hai Gaon wrote, "There are three things that a person should hold dear: a field, a friend, and a book. A field allows a person to earn a living. A friend provides a person with companionship. And a book is even better than a friend. For a book can provide companionship as well. And while a friend might desert you, a book will go with you anywhere. A book can reach across time and space and express eternal ideas. And in that way, a book becomes transcendent." And isn't this part of what it means to be Jewish? To consider that which is transcendent as if it were our very dearest friend? Perhaps this is what we mean when we say that we are the people of the book. Not just that we're a people who loves to read and write, but more importantly, that we are a people who believes that even when we are alone, or when we feel like all is lost and senseless, that we believe that nevertheless, we can always reach for a book and find there waiting for us exactly the thing that we need: guidance, wisdom, inspiration, companionship, the qualities most important to human life which we ascribe to God, our Creator. A book is indeed just like a loving friend, eternally present, just waiting to be opened. Shabbat Shalom. Our hearts turn now to people who are in need of healing. And if there's someone you're thinking of this evening who would feel good to know that you were thinking about them tonight, and if you'd like to share their name aloud with our community, I invite you to rise in your place and say their name at this time. In addition to these names, we as a Westchester Reform Temple community are praying for healing this evening for Harvey Allen Reisman, Sarah Horan, Linda Feldman, Zalman Pesach, Liz Schubiner, Donna Pertula, Rosalind Miller, Grace Neidish, Avraham Feivel ben Michal, Herschel ben Sarah, Avraham ben Miriam, Yitzchak Halevi ben Sholem, Elizabeth Hars, Barbara Feldman, Tony and Gina DeLappa, Matthew Atwood, Stephen Bleckman, Ruth Weinfeld, Linda Byron Glucksman, Gloria Byron, Anthony and Elizabeth Danker, Mordechai Ben Yaakov, Deborah Kapnick, Nicole Schusse, Neil Glaskell, Leah Greenspan, Andrea Reiner, Masha Batsora, Aviva Tzila Bat Esther Bela, Jeffrey Millman, Ken Master, Chava Batsara, Eliyahu Chaim Ben Fradel, Sheila Fried, Malka Tzipora Bas Rachel, Tamar Bat Malka, Blanche Silver, Heschel Meir Ben Davida Chana, and other names that we carry with us in our hearts. Our prayer for healing can be found on page 371.
מי שברך אבותינו מקור הברכה לאמותינו. May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Yisheberach imotenu mekor habracha la'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Our concluding prayers can be found in our prayer book beginning on page 586. Would the congregation please rise?
למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
As we prepare to say the Mourner's Kaddish, we'll turn together to page 592. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved, and if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. As we prepare now to offer the words of the Mourner's Kaddish, I'd invite mourners in our midst to please rise and be acknowledged in the following order. If you've laid a loved one to rest within the past 7 days, would you please rise? If you're within the first 30 days of mourning, would you please rise? If you're within the first year of mourning your loved one, would you now rise? And if this Shabbat marks a yahrzeit, the anniversary of a loved one's death, would you please rise? I'd ask the entire congregation to rise as one in support of the mourners who are among us, as we remember, first, those most recently taken from us. In the period of Ani Nut, the period between the time of death and before burial, we remember Phyllis Lubin, mother of Brad Lubin. And in the first 4 weeks of mourning, we remember Stephen Paul Seltzer, brother-in-law of Ruth and Andrew Sussman, Marvin Ross, father of Seth Ross, Howard Stuckler, father of Patty Lubin, Norman Allen Lieberman, brother of Carl Lieberman, Theodore Ted Weinberg, husband of Audrey Weinberg and father of Blake Weinberg Vogel and Taylor Weinberg Rosen, Sidney Kahn, father of Lawrence Kahn, Jane Rittmaster, mother of Peter Rittmaster, William Foreman, uncle of Rabbi Sharon Foreman, Alan Krebs, uncle of Helene Getz and Elise Flagg, Randy Potak, wife of Michael Potak and mother of Jonathan Potak, Yvonne Gross, husband of Judy Gross, Stephen Leventhal, father of Josh Leventhal, Shirley Sundak, mother of Tracy Coburn, Angela Saba, mother of Stephen Saba, Michael Schulman, uncle of Mark Koch. And on the Yahrzeit, on the anniversary of their death, we remember Samuel Alter, Henry Applebaum, Margaret Applebaum, Sylvan Beck, Darrell G. Berman, Nathan Black, Irene Boysnack, Betsy Bronstein, Gilbert Brooks, Madeline Calamari, Israel Casper, Erwin Cohen, Harry Corlin, Abraham Dranitz, Steve Faust, Martin Friedman, Herbert S. Fryman, Robert Friedman, Ruth Geltzer, Juliet Goldsmith, Susan Greenfield, Anita Grossman, Miriam Weinstein Guggenheim, Peter Haller, Gloria Herman, Sidel Jordan, Samuel Joseph, Rhoda Josephs, Mildred Ruboy Cantor, Sydney M. Starr, Sarah Koretsky, Alan Kay, Peggy Lemley, Walter Lovinger, Jack Nachmias, Harvey Nova, Lawrence G. Nussbaum, Robert Plattis, Harry Prince, Paul Rabinowitz, Shirley Reich, Rose Rottenberg, Stanley J. Schaefer, A. Jerome Schiffer, Bertram Schoenman, Leonard Schwartz, Kurt Seelman, Michael Ralph Seidel, Arnold Serper, Saul Schuckman, Adam Sugar, Estelle Schulman, Eleanor Singer, Deborah Smith, Barbara Tabor, Alvin A. Weingarten, David Weiss, Skylar Werner, Catherine Wright. Are there other names to add to our commemoration that have not yet been said aloud or that I've inadvertently mispronounced? And other names that we carry with us in our hearts. The Mourner's Kaddish can be found on page 598. We say together, Yit Gadol v'Yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, B'alma Divrach Hirutei v'Yamlich Malchutei, B'chayechon u'v'yom echon u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala u'v'izman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevarach le'olam l'omei omaya. Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yit pa'ar v'yit romam v'yit naseh v'yit hadar v'yit aleh v'yit halal shemei d'kudsha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechemata da'amiran v'yama v'imru amen Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen Oseh shalom b'mramav hu ya'aseh shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen.
Ve'imru Amen. Ve'imru Amen.
We may be seated. It's now my honor to invite forward to the bima the president of our Board of Trustees, Warren Haber, to offer some announcements.
Thank you, Rabbi Reeser and Isaac, for leading a beautiful service this evening, and for our wonderful musicians. For those of you who are coming in person for the first time in a long time, welcome back. It's good to see us and wonderful to share community. As usual, tomorrow morning we have Sharing Shabbat and Torah study. And on February 17th at 7 p.m., we have a special Freebirds series called Sounds of the Spirit. It's on February 17th, March 24th, and April 21st. You can attend 1, 2, or 3 sessions, and you can join cantors Kleiman and Rodnitsky, as well as special guest Jewish composer, multi-instrumentalist, and prayer leader Ilana Arian for an exploration of how music can bring modern relevance to our ancient prayers. This program is presented by the Freebirds. It's free, and you can contact Lori Gertzog if you have any questions. I wanted to thank our greeter tonight, Tracy Kahn, and Shabbat Shalom.
We'll conclude our service with words of poetry. We've tried to work in different literary genres in tonight's service in honor of the Jewish Book Awards. We've heard lots of different poems, and we'll turn now to a great Jewish poem on page 625, Adon Olam. Would the congregation please rise?
Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Leid Nasa B'chefzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Ve'acharei Kiflot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora Ve'hu Haya Ve'hu Hove Ve'hu Yiheh B'tifara. To the final verse. Beyado akid ruchi be'etisha be'ayira ve'im ruchi geviati Adonai ni ve'lo ira.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Nice service tonight. Thanks, brothers.
So that makes you the first lady? How are you? How is everybody? They're around or all over?
Saturday morning, she was going to have lunch with a girlfriend.
Yes.
And they lived right across the hall from each other. So the woman was coming, and she saw my mom's door was ajar. And my mom was laying there on the ground. And she was fine, but she had, they couldn't regulate her blood pressure.
Yeah, I remember you told me like a month ago or something.
Yeah.
She was having
It's like up and down.
Right.
So evidently it's spiked and something burst up here. And it was like,
How old is she?
89.
So she had a good life.
I mean, you guys are about the closest I've ever seen the kind of love that my folks have. I'm telling you, man, they met in high school and were like totally devoted.
Really?
Yeah, and you know how your kids work on you. Mom says I can't do this.
Right.
Well, with them, get it, man. There was no daylight.
Really?
None.
Huh.
My sister and I we would always say, Mom, Dad. We would never say Dad, Mom. We was always,
There's like one.
they were a unit.
Wow, that's amazing.
It was really beautiful.
No fish or something, yeah. Oh, the Getty family, yeah. She got invited to play for one of the Getty granddaughters.
Oh, nice.
Had a wedding at City Hall in San Francisco, and they flew in people from like Milan and all around the world, and they needed a quartet, so Rachel was so all of a sudden, the
Well,
next
the
morning,
Gettys are known for their ear.
so they open up Vogue and like there's pictures from the wedding. I mean, this was one of those things, yeah. But the funny thing is they had to sign like this 10-page confidentiality agreement in order to just play. They couldn't, say anything. They couldn't take any photographs or anything because they were selling them to all the big, trade rags. But she had fun. She had a lot of fun. But I'm so sorry.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'll tell you two quick things. So my son,
I'm
he
going to
works
ask about
remotely.
Yeah.
So he and his girlfriend decided they were going to go live in Denver.
Oh,
Right?
but he's still got a job in New York City.
No, his job is in Silicon Valley.
Okay.
So, but he can work remotely. So they say, let's go to Denver. He likes to ski.
Okay, Denver's amazing.
It's great. So they're driving out there on the day my mom gets. Now, he doesn't know everything's going on.
Right.
But I'm from Niagara Falls.
Yep, I do.
So he gets like this idea, hey, have you ever seen Niagara Falls? She goes, yeah, let's go. So they go a couple hours out of the way.
Right.
And they're at the bridge and they take this cute photo and he's telling her about his grandma and about how he's drinking my dad's ashes there. He sends me that photo, timestamp shows they were there.
Oh my God.
Wow, I'm telling you, man.
He must be done.
So she's
That's amazing. What a story.
so then I go to Florida and my sister and I go into her apartment. Her doctor is there because so bad.
Right.
So as we walked in, we were into her. She was and we just, it was so sweet. We were little things around and everything. So my sister had to sleep on the couch. So I slept on the bed. I fell asleep. A couple hours later, I was like,
Only by writing your reputation, of course.
I was getting ready to go out and it's the last thing I could remember. And then she goes, but then
Is that what she said?
yeah. And that's what happened. She did she went out on her way to go visit.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
What a
man.
story.
Yeah. So I'm kind of going with that,
Okay. Okay.
I think that if there's any kind of love that